So I've been asked to make a video explaining the condition that Alfie was born with, which is congenital diaphragmatic hernia. It is a mouthful and it's often shortened to CDH. It affects approximately 1 in every 2,400 babies, and on average the survival rate is between 50 and 60%. A diaphragmatic hernia is where the diaphragm doesn't develop properly between weeks 7 to 12 gestation. And when the diaphragm doesn't develop properly, either on the left side, the right side, or both sides, it enables the organs inside the abdomen to move up into the chest cavity. The result of this is underdeveloped lungs because everything has moved up, it's squished the lungs, and in some cases it can actually move the heart from the correct position. So in Alfie's case, he was left-sided CDH. His stomach, spleen, large and small intestines, and the left side of his liver all moved up into his chest, which meant that his left lung couldn't develop at all. His heart was pushed to the right-hand side, and his right lung only developed about 35 to 40% of its full capacity. So surgery can be done either using the existing diaphragm or by using a mesh patch to patch up the hole to separate the chest cavity from the abdominal cavity, which enables the lungs to expand a bit more so the baby can breathe on their own once the repair has been done. So surgery can be done as early as day 2, day 3. It depends on whether the baby's ready, how well they're actually able to breathe as much as they can on their own. Hypertension, pulmonary hypertension, is massive and plays a huge part on whether a baby is or isn't ready for surgery. Because of this, Alfie wasn't ready until day 10, and even then it was a bit there was a bit of hesitation as to whether they did want to operate at that time on him, but the specialists felt that that was the optimal window for Alfie, and they were worried that they would miss that window completely if they kept putting the surgery off to see if he would improve anymore. So his surgery was done, and it was a success, and he's been able to improve ever since, obviously. So with a baby with CDH, they do tend to have a lot of ongoing issues once the surgery has been completed, the repair's been done. Quite often they will have respiratory problems, and a lot of this is to do with the fact that their lungs weren't able to develop as they should normally, and it isn't likely that once the repair's been done that their lungs will develop as well as they would otherwise. Also, there can be problems with establishing feeding as well, which is exactly what we've got going on with Alfie at the moment. This can be due to a number of different factors causing the aversion to feeding. So sometimes it can be because of the feeding tube being given for so long that the babies just don't develop a sensation for hunger, which we are thinking is the case for Alfie. So because they're not associating being hungry with being fed, I guess the easiest way to explain it is they don't feel a need to feed, therefore they won't do it. Sometimes it can be because they've had the ventilator tube down their throat. They develop a bit of an aversion to having anything in their mouth at all. And sometimes it can be because they have been fed intravenously for a period of time. Again, they don't develop the sensation of hunger, or they choose not to. There are lots of different people that do become involved in situations like this. We're seeing a speech pathologist, we're seeing a dietitian, we also see an occupational therapist, physiotherapist, and they're all involved in trying to get the best way to get Alfie to start feeding, as he is completely reliant on his nasogastric tube at the moment. There can also tend to be a bit of developmental delay, which again we are experiencing with Alfie. So because he did spend 6 weeks in the neonatal intensive care unit, he spent a long period of time on his back. He wasn't able to roll over the same way that babies do, you know, kind of getting off their back a little bit and wiggling around. He was sedated for a long time in hospital, and he was also completely paralysed with medication for a while as well to help with his recovery. So that they're kind of the big things as to why he's a bit slower with his development. He was a lot slower with developing his own head support, which he's still working on now. He's now at a point where he can lay on his tummy and he's starting to be able to lift his head up. I've got friends who have got babies who are younger than him who have already met that milestone, but that's okay. Alfie is his own little being and he's doing the best he can, and we are so proud of him. So, I mean, I guess once the repair of the hernia is done, there is still a long journey ahead. We're still on that journey, and I'm enjoying sharing it with those who want to watch the videos. I think that it's a really interesting condition to be born with. I don't like that it happened to my baby, but it, in a sense, has given me an opportunity to be able to teach people about a condition that really isn't very well known at all. There's there's lots of childhood conditions that are really well known about, and people are able to to throw all their support behind, but it's these conditions like this that people just don't know about, which I think it's really important to be able to spread the information about. When Alfie first got the diagnosis, when I was 20 weeks pregnant, and I heard the word hernia, I thought, well, that's no big deal. That can be fixed, a bit of keyhole surgery. I was sent to my doctor immediately that same afternoon. He then referred me on to my local hospital for more testing. At that point, he still couldn't tell me much either. My husband was actually overseas at the time of Alfie's diagnosis. So I jumped on Dr. Google and everything I read was absolutely terrible. I scared myself silly. I didn't know what to do. And then after I saw my local hospital, I was then sent on to a tertiary hospital, because babies who are known to have CDH to begin with, they will be sent to a tertiary hospital as they are fully equipped to be able to manage a baby once they're born with a condition as serious as that. Whereas my local hospital, they don't have the resources available, and it's very dangerous to try and transport a baby who is on ventilation. So to avoid that completely was fantastic. So it was lucky in a way that it was picked up at my 20-week ultrasound. I have heard of it being picked up earlier at the 13-week ultrasound, and I have also heard of it not being picked up until after the baby's born, in which case I imagine that the baby would have presented with breathing difficulties. It would have had, I imagine, assistance with breathing to start with, and then they would have started all their investigations, and it would have been the ultrasound that it would have been picked up on, the same with Alfie. And when it was picked up, the thing that the sonographer saw to start with was his heart sitting next to his stomach in his chest, and that rang alarm bells for her straight away, because obviously the stomach's meant to be down lower. There's meant to be the diaphragm separating it, and that wasn't the case with Alfie. So they knew straight away what it was. It was able to be managed the best it could, and we were one of the really fortunate families who we do have a survivor, and I will be forever grateful for that. So there is so much more that I could talk about with the diaphragmatic hernia. I've learnt so much after these last 4 months, and I do continue to learn more every time I jump online and have a read. There is so many websites available. I'm part of a support group on Facebook as well, which has been absolutely incredible. The amount of people that I have spoken to that have been in the same situation that we've been in. There's some who've had the same outcome we have. There's others who haven't been as fortunate with their outcomes, but it is like one massive big family, and everyone just throws their support behind each other, and I couldn't explain how grateful I am to have something like that, because it really helped me through the rest of my pregnancy when it was just absolutely terrifying. So that's congenital diaphragmatic hernia. I will make some other videos as well, further explaining conditions that Alfie also had. So the issue with his pulmonary hypertension, his SVT, his ASD as well, his heart condition, which is still ongoing, and he also had a pleural effusion as well, and a cardiac effusion. So I will make other videos which explain all that, because otherwise I'll go on forever with this one. But Thank you for watching, and I will be putting more videos up soon once I get all the information that I need to be able to explain it to you. So thank you.